Warlock players, I have the perfect build for you. In fact, I have two builds. One for roam content, one designed to be a monster in DPS. But they both start with the same recently buffed aspect, Weaver's Call. The base effect of this aspect is generate 3 threadlings with every class ability usage, and class abilities will be plentiful. The new effects, however, include the following. Dealing damage will passively generate threadlings. This is based on total damage with any source. More damage, more threadlings. Kills will generate threadlings too. 1 per 3 lower tier enemies defeated, or 1 every single boss tier enemy defeated. Also, any threadling damage from either this aspect or any other sources will grant class ability energy. And on top of all of this, threadlings got a 20% base damage buff, and there's some threadling artifact support, making these buggies extremely potent. So this is the first roam setup, one for any general gameplay like strikes, dungeons, portal farming, all of that kind of stuff. I won't be showing this on online content either, we're soloing the last mission on Mythic. What it provides is the following. Class ability cooldowns going down to as low as 1 second. Each class ability cast will grant Threadlings, Hellion, Devour, a huge chunk of super energy, and all the new benefits Empowering Rift now provides, including faster ability regen and ammo generation while remaining inside of it. So much passive damage that enemies will be defeated before you actually know where they are. This is especially nice for maintaining Devour and spawning even more Threadlings, keeping the swarm going. There's also very open weapon options. The only requirement I'd say is just try to run a strand weapon in the kinetic slot. But this enables some of the best choices right now anyway. There's the Mint Retrograde, the new Malpay, even Euphony if you have it, as this benefits from the horde of Threadlings. Exotic options are quite open too. There's a premium exotic class combination I love, and a few flex options of perks which are viable too. As I've said, Threadlings are kind of the base of this build. These cute little guys are finally a worthwhile pick. They've been in the background for a while now, mostly used as a for fun gimmick, or at best making Euphony slightly better, but we have now reached Strand Critter critical mass. I've covered the Weaver's Call change and this alone would probably be enough, but the generation and damage of Threadlings is also getting external help, in Threadling Proliferation and Pack Tactics. Threadling Proliferation generates Threadlings passively while dealing damage with a strand weapon, very similar to Weaver's Call just with that strand requirement. These both work at once for double passive generation. What is nice is it's just on dealing damage, not final blows, so will also help out in securing kills. Also, this does work in PvP too, which is just evil. Pack Tactics make Threadlings more potent. With each Threadling hit, their damage will be increased, first 15%, then 30%. Very easy to max out this buff in a single class ability or Threadling Grenade. Further Threadlings will maintain this 30% buff and slightly increase damage over time. It's only around 1% per Threadling, but theoretically, with infinite time and infinite Threadlings could be hitting billions. Not to mention Needlestorm. The Threadlings generated after the super's initial impact will in fact count for that damage boost too, making it a better choice than Nova for a powerful instant cast super. Oh, and Threadlings stun unstoppable champions so long as you are at this 30% increase. Actually, just a quick side note because I know this is going to be asked. A lot of features so far are a little strandy. Why not strand Warlock with Thread of Evolution instead? The answer is simple enough. Outside of Thread of Evolution, strand Warlock is ass. Moving on. But honestly, one of the major reasons for choosing Prismatic is the availability of exotic class items, and one of the left column perks specifically in Spirit of Filaments. For aspects, I of course want Weaver's Call, and would also like Hellion as we'll be spamming class abilities, but this means I'm missing out on Devour via Feed the Void. Spirit of Filaments grants Devour whenever standing in an Empowering Rift. I wanted to use Empowering Rifts anyway, because they've just been buffed to not only give weapon damage, but increased ability regen and ammo gen when standing in one. This instant Devour is incredibly helpful because it turns a rift into a pseudo healing one too. Between the Threadlings generated and the Hellion 2, you are going to be picking up kills instantly, returning health to you. Then you just have Devour for healing on any follow-up kills. And exclusive to filaments, Devour final blows will also give class energy. Another reason for these empowering rifts is it enables you to pair filaments with Starfire. Spirit of the Starfire generates grenade energy on weapon hits or kills as long as you're empowered by either Rift or the solar buff Radiant. There's so many ways to get a ridiculous amount of threadlings with just this class item alone. I'd highly recommend filaments, but if you absolutely can't get it to drop, Coil is fine too. The second column is a bit more open. Star Eaters can juice up your supers considerably, Spirit of Harmony can get you supers even quicker, Vesper would also be pretty hilarious to turn your rifts into an offensive weapon. Swarm is pretty terrible. Featured exotics are a thing for now, thankfully going away with renegades, but it does mean in some activities, thankfully only conquests, you cannot use an exotic not currently featured. For conquests, I do highly recommend Boots of the Assembler. These will make empowering rifts all the more empowering, giving allies 35% boosts, and every time an ally is buffed, you and them will be granted a huge chunk of class ability regen, so you still have that class ability cycling on repeat, and this exotic should always be viable here, as it's unlikely you will be running Conquest solo unless you are Chablo. Oh yeah, and Swarmers are still terrible. Since there is already so much incentive to spam class abilities, how about a little bit more? Between 2 copies of Dynamo, the helmet mod, and 2 copies of Distribution, the class item mod, every class ability will give you the following: 12% super energy, and 6% to everything else, including grenade, melee and class. This is what is enabling rapid supers and repeated chunk energy you are seeing in the gameplay clips. Just having these mods on are what take the setup from great to insane. Exploring our other options in terms of subclass weapons and mods, here's what I recommend. For melee, Threaded Needle is often just too good to give up on, as it is unravel on demand, though it isn't needed. If you have a weapon you want to skip the reload of via Facet of Command, you could use Penumbral Blast. Pocket Singularity has 2 charges now and isn't terrible if Unravel is already covered via weapons. For Fragments, there's a few critical things. Facet of Hope will return class energy at 40% or 60% faster depending on how many elemental buffs you have. Typically we have Devour and Radiant for 60%. Facet of Dawn provides Radiant on powered melee hits, useful for Hope and just an all round good weapon damage boost. Less critical, but my personal suggestions are the following. Facet of Balance. Every 3 dark energy kills will give 10% grenade energy, every 3 light energy kills give 10% melee energy. Facet of Purpose. Since the Strand Super is used, every orb of power collected will provide Woven Mail for 5 seconds. This also counts as a subclass buff for Hope. Facet of Protection. This is just a damage resist source which can stack on top of Woven Mail, providing a 15% resist when surrounded. Weapons, you want a Strand Kinetic slot to make use of Threadling Proliferation. New Melpay is absolutely incredible, it's mint retrograde but with a stronger ammo economy, and access to Suspend, and later on also Unravel when you unlock the Catalyst. Mint retrograde can be used too, it's still one of the best options. If you want a primary option, here's my recommendations. They include Barrow Dyad even off Peacekeepers, this is the highest damage output primary. You can even use the Hatchling Catalyst perk for the setup. Legendary new gear options include Last Thursday with Demolitionist and Frenzy, or Auric Disabler with Trials Auto with Hatchling and Onslaught as my recommended pairings. In the energy slot, I have had a really hard time taking off the Yeartide Apex. It can provide orbs with Attrition Orbs, or you could use Heal Clip if you need that. Then it has Chaos Reshaped for not only a ludicrous 35% damage boost, but even more passive healing. Then it gets its reload reduced to basically non-existent if you use the Text Mechanica Origin trait, and it's solar. So rapid crits will proc Fever and Chill, giving you another easy access to Radiant. Only problem is, if you don't have this and are also lacking access to a time machine, it's not available. But I'd still suggest a solo weapon which can crit for Radiant. The Reprise Meter mini tool can roll Attrition Orbs and Frenzy, it's basically the same thing. Heavy slot, stick to Strand for a Threadling generation, and Surge match with Mint, Mint 2 or whatever weapon you've chosen. Haliatus is incredible. I have a video on it here, but basically it's an ability generation rocket. Each shot fired can return near full ability energy as long as you have cluster bombs. Then you can pair this with bipod for 16 total reserves and a lot of ability energy. There's also the traditional heavy hitters like elemental honing and new perk options Reaper's Tie for aggregate charge, which these can provide up to a 40% damage boost. Again though, any strand heavy is chill. If you have your preferences, feel free to use it. Here's the armor mods and artifact mods used. I've covered the important stuff, so feel free to just copy the rest or suit it to your playstyle. Stats will also be dependent on what armor you have access to, but in priorities, go high in class and grenade, moderate in super, weapons, melee and health are not critical. In terms of set effect, Ion Adapter is good if using Min or Mint 2 for damage resist. Collective Psyche can increase radiant duration as well as strand debuffs duration, or the 2-part Trials effect is always nice for health restoration on ammo pickup. And that's how threadlings can be used to great effect throughout most of Destiny's activities. But what if you wanted to really bring the damage for most likely dungeon or raid bosses? Most of it stays the same, but there's a few critical changes you can make for maximum DPS. You could use Bleak Watcher alongside Facet of Command if you have a weapon which benefits from auto-loading. If not, stick with Hellion. Class abilities is out with Empowering Rift and in with Phoenix Dive. Because this class ability has a lower cooldown and shorter activation time, meaning more threadlings per threadling, and chunks of super return much more often. Because of this change, it's critical to also swap out perks in the exotic class item. Instead of filaments, you want Apotheosis. This will allow a period of 8 seconds per supercast to spam grenade and melee abilities at a rapid rate. In the second column, Star Eaters can increase the damage of your first supercast substantially, or you could just stick with Starfire for more grenades. The super regen loop is also doubled down on. Dynamo and distribution mods increase to 3 of each, and on the arm slot 2 copies of bolstering detonation and a copy of focusing strike. These will return class energy when using grenade and melee abilities respectively. Weapons, you have a few options. Philality's Auger and Mint Retrograde can be woven into ability loops for unmatched total damage. Alliatus can be used to reinforce that strong ability loop. Euphony can also be used if you want to ensure constant threadling generation to maintain the 30% buff. You've seen the Halliatus variant solo a dungeon boss, and an example of a more ability heavy super looping variant too. Finally, here's my friend using the Auger variant in the Desert Perpetual final boss Koragos, and hitting absolutely absurd numbers. A link to their channel where they explain this specific setup further is linked in the description.
Okay, it's okay.
So there you have it. Personally, I would have probably hit 300k there, but we can't all be pros. The Warlock build is something you should absolutely give a try. It's got that much needed combination of being so much fun to play, but not sacrificing effectiveness at all. If you've learned anything new from this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and join my Discord community too. Any other tips I will be posting there. Thank you for watching.